Hi, this is Nigel from nextlevelguitar.com, and what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about string raking, string muting, palm muting, left hand muting, and how you can use those techniques to bring a bit of dynamism into your playing. You can make things a bit softer. You can do a variety of things that I think you could hear in the intro bit. What I'm going to do now is play a lick and use some palm muting, use some left hand muting to show dynamics and some feeling, at least I think it's feeling.
I do too!
Yeah. So you can maybe bring some of those things to your own playing. The techniques are fairly straightforward, but they need a little bit of practice. So what we'll do is we'll go through those techniques. You see a lot of players use these techniques. I think probably Stevie Ray Vaughan had the best left-hand muting technique that I've ever seen. Players like Gary Moore are very good at both things too. So you'll see it in their playing. So the first thing that I want to talk about in this module is some right hand, some palm muting. And with palm muting, obviously we mute the strings that we choose to mute. And if I just play something straightforward, I can change my palm muting so that you can hear slightly different dynamics in the way the lick sounds. So this is a lick. That's it. So if I palm mute it completely, I put my right hand over the strings. It sounds dreadful. So I'm muting all the strings. You still get an essence of the notes because you still fret them. But it's not much use for anything really. But if I lightly mute the strings, so I move my hand back a little bit, I sit on the bridge so that I just put the fleshy part of my right hand just over the bridge, I can make it sound a bit different. So that's a little less muting, and we can go lighter than that. So that's still with muting. It mutes the strings, it brings the volume down a little bit. Because it brings down the volume a little bit, you don't drive the tubes quite so hard, so you bring down a little bit of distortion. And if I play it without any muting, you get a little bit more distortion because I'm picking the strings quite hard and I've got no muting. So you can actually string those together to give some feeling to your playing. So for the heavy muting, when you're actually trying to quiet your strings, obviously your palm is over the bridge at the back of the bridge pickup, and it's just muting the strings completely. So to get lighter muting, you obviously move your hand back a bit, and if you sit your hand just behind the bridge and still play, you don't get very much muting at all, if any. So the trick is to take the fleshy part of your right hand and move it just over the bridge a little bit, so that you mute the strings a little bit. So they still ring. And then you can start adding in a little bit of muting, no muting, a little bit more muting, to give some phrasing to your playing. The phrasing is volume a little, but it's also how the strings ring. So. So what I'm trying to show you today is how you can use palm muting to alter the motion and the dynamism in your playing, I'm just noodling around in B pentatonic, B blues scale. It doesn't really matter where you are on the fretboard. It doesn't really matter what key you're in. You can use this in any level of music. Obviously, you'd hear this a lot in jazz music as well, and you'll hear it a lot in Metallica. So it's a very useful technique. It gives you an extra bow, an extra arrow to your bow, if you like, and it also gives you some nice phrasing, and I think it's a very cool thing to learn. So what I'll do is I'll just play a little phrase, a little lick, and I'll use some palm muting. I'll vary it a little bit, and you can see the difference that having the palm muting makes. And I'll also use a little bit of left hand muting, and we'll talk about left hand muting in a minute. Muting in there, you can hear it's very obvious when I'm muting the strings, but there's also a little bit of left hand muting. So left hand muting is essentially usually I use my first finger to do this most of the time. You can get some cool sounds with left hand muting, in addition to just quieting down your strings. So what I played was, and that just gives you some nice phrasing where you can rake up the strings. So you can hear it gives you the... And that's all done from muting with the left hand. And the way you do that is straightforward. You use the first finger of your left hand, and you fret the note you want to fret. In this case, 10th fret on the B string. And you just run your pick up the strings to give you that raking sound, and just fret the one note. Which in a lick gives you some cool phrasing. So what we had was this one. So that's some more left hand muting where so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to fret the 7th fret on the E string, on the high E string, but I'm doing it with, instead of doing it with this part of my finger, I'm actually fretting it slightly behind that. So I'm fretting it with around here on my finger, because I can do that on the E string, I can't do that anywhere else. I can do it on the low E, I guess, as well. So I'm laying my first finger across the fretboard at the 7th fret, to create the same raking sound across the unfretted. I'm not pressing down, I've just got my finger lightly resting on the string, and then I'm using this part of my first finger here to fret the note. It just takes a bit of practice to get your finger in the right place. So it's going to take you a while to find the sweet spot, what works in your hand. This is my hand, obviously.
That's your hand?
That's just about, yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
All right.
So you're going to have to play with it yourself and see what's good, what part of your hand works best for you, where you can be the most consistent. But all of that phrase I was just playing, I didn't touch the volume knob on the guitar. I didn't touch the amp at all. All of the phrasing, all of the volume changes are all done purely by alternating some palm muting and some left hand muting. So you can get lots of nice phrases, lots of feeling in your playing, and you don't have to plug into some kind of pedal, you don't have to push any switch, you don't have to play with the volume knob on your guitar. You can do it all in your hands. Remember, it is all in your hands. Tone is in your hands. So this is Nigel from nextlevelguitar.com, and I'll see you soon.